Let's play some hockey.
Energetic, passionate, and savvy. Gouche Live. Brought to you by the good people at the Hockey News and Sports Illustrated. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the Gouche.
Yes, it is. It's the Gouche, and I'm excited to be here. My name is Kerry Goulet, as you know, and it's the Gouche Live Sports Talk. We're talking with the Hockey News and Sports Illustrated, all about what's going on in the world of hockey. We got a great guest today. Ray Neufeld's joining me, and we're going to be talking about the Winnipeg Jets and the trade. Not just the Dubois trade, but his trade for Dave Babych. Kind of a crazy story, and I'm looking forward to doing that. And, of course, we got the Flying Frenchman. He's joining us to talk a little bit about what is going on in Montreal. The Habs are falling apart. The the ship has left the building. Let's find out from Francois exactly what's going on there. And, of course, I do want to do a shout-out to, of course, Tiger Woods. Our thoughts and prayers are with him. We hope that he gets back, has a speedy recovery, and hopefully is back hitting a golf ball because he means so much to that sport. Yes, he's controversial. Yes, he's had issues, but a lot of people have in their lifetime, and they always deserve second and third chances. All right, listen, let's bring up the Flying Frenchman. Francois?
Gouche.
What's going on?
Well, you saw what happened today with the Habs, eh?
Hey, I don't see your jersey behind me.
Well, behind you, yeah. Well, I see the Montreal Canadiens jersey, but you know.
But you never wore one. I know. I heard the management from Bergeron was trying to get a hold of you, but your phone was busy the whole time.
Well, that, and I say I can't because I have to be on Gouche Live at 4, so I can't make it to the press conference. So,
all right. So you know, I know, and those people know that Claude Julien has been fired, along with Kirk Muller, a long time, well-respected Montreal Canadian NHLer. He was hired in 2016. The Habs were 121 wins to 129 losses. 35 overtime losses, and they made the playoffs only twice, first time out in the first round. Is it a surprise? I think it's a surprise right now because why now? But I think they're just sending a message. They've got to do something. Is it a problem with him and Carey Price? Was there an issue there? Is it Bergeron and Julien? Or where do you see the problem?
I think we have to go back a few years. Remember when they had 96 points and they didn't make the playoffs by 2 points. They had a good season, but they still didn't make the playoffs. And I think it was excuses after excuses, even though in the locker room it says no excuses. And then last year, not making the playoffs. Actually, I mean, if we would have had a regular season last year, it would have been very hard for Montreal, although when they restarted in the bubble and they actually made it, beat the Penguins. I think it was a small. I think that's where it started basically. Remember when Julien had his had to go to the hospital, and then Muller took over, and I think it kind of changed a little bit. The attitude of the players started to change, and this year, because of it's a short season, it's only 56 games, and I think the Habs right now they only have 37 games left in the season, and it was not going well at all. And I don't know if you recall, Gouche, when at the beginning of this season, the Habs were playing, they were winning. I wouldn't say easily, but they were scoring goals and all that. And I said, now the real season is going to start because other teams will adjust to the Montreal Canadiens, and that's where the coaching comes into effect. So that's what I said. I said, remember, now he has to be a coach, and we'll see how he's going to coach. And I think that's that started to be a problem because he was putting players that shouldn't have been there. If you look defensively, you had Romanov that was doing extremely well with Kulak, and then all of a sudden, he brings in Mete, and it's the kid was starting to be mixed up. Why change something that's working?
Yeah, but can you also not put some blame on Bergeron? Obviously, he's got issues with, he gave you a 13% cap hit with the contract that he gave with Carey Price. Thank you, Val, for bringing that out. $11 million a year. He brings in Jake Allen, thank God, because Price is not having the best of seasons. But is that also because of the team in front of him is not, offensively they look okay, but, defensively you brought that up. So can we not put some onus again back at Bergeron? It's always easy to fire the coach. That's the easiest thing. You can't fire all the players, right? They're fourth overall with 22 points after 18 games. They're not out of it by any means. No. They're 3 points ahead of the Flames, which had a bad start. You know what? Toronto seemed to be misguided a little bit this last week too. That happens. There's an ebb and flow in every year. So yes, I will agree. It's time that the coach needs to coach.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Question. And for Bergevin, a lot of people have been complaining about the trades and all that. But I mean, look at the team that he's putting on the ice right now. I mean, he got Toffoli, he got Edmondson, he got Anderson, Perry, Frolic, Allen, and I mean, the team is there to have success. So, and I think he had to do something, and he had to do it now because it would have been too late otherwise. With 36 or 37 games left in the season, something had to change because what I saw yesterday during the first period, players were saying all the right things in front of the media. We have to do this. It's our fault. It's not the coach's fault, and this and that. I mean, that's the regular blah blah that you say to the media. But there's a saying, walk your talk. And
okay, let me ask you this question as you're going on that point. I think it's really important. Julien's known as an old authoritarian coach. He hasn't really moved into the day of this thing, and we know that you deal with players differently today than you even did 5 years ago. Yep. Did he not change with the times? And Kirk Muller's a great guy. Maybe there's just this coaching style that didn't match the players that were coming in. Well,
back then, I mean, it's that kind of coaching, and you have to learn to adjust. Just like me with what I do, training wise with the player, I have to adjust every year. I'm looking what's being done somewhere else. I even try it myself. And today, the difference between players back then and today is they want to know what they're doing, what it's going to do to them, why they're doing this. So you have to explain everything. And sometimes, I'm not saying because I was not in that room, but from what I've heard from a few players that I know, it was his way. It was like that, and it was no arguments, and not a lot of explanations. So eventually, what I saw yesterday during especially the first period, they weren't even kind of trying, to win that game. So there's a difference between trying to win a game and trying not to win a game.
Or trying not to lose, and also
trying not to lose the game. Exactly.
Yeah. All right, listen, we've only got a few more minutes with you, so I want to get deep into it. Where do we go next? Like, what is Bergeron's next move? Like, I think Bergeron's next move is his job. If he doesn't do the right thing, right? And I think another good point is that Bergeron's taken some heat over the Brady Tkachuk story. He had a chance to draft him and didn't, and he took Kotkaniemi, who has looked okay, but this year just doesn't seem he's not firing on all the cylinders. And so that's got to be, he's absolutely. So is Brady Tkachuk. And I'm not a Tkachuk fan. I'll be the first. I know his father in Winnipeg, all that sort of stuff. I like truculence, but I don't like it when it's on that edge of, he soon may lick a face too, just like that guy in Boston. So tell me about what you think about the Bergeron situation now with this next move.
Well, I think you're right. I mean, next step, he's out, but I don't think he's going to be out. And the reason is very simple. Now they brought Ducharme in as he's there by interim, but I think he's there to stay. They brought Alex Burrows also in as a coach. I think Ducharme, because he's younger, he's going to help the young kids.
Yep.
And when you draft a player for a certain reason. And why try to change, the way that the player is used to play? And I think that confuses a lot of kids.
Absolutely.
So like KK, it's the same thing for Suzuki and all the young kids. Gallagher is pretty much the same thing, but he's a guy that's going all out all the time. But a different kind of players, sometimes the mentality, and you have to approach each player as individual. I mean, they won't respond the same way they're all different. So you have to learn to adjust to every single player. But I think Ducharme is going to help. I mean, he's won everywhere he went. He had success everywhere he went. I think it's a good change for at least having a younger coach there. I think that's going to help a lot of the kids.
All right, so final question for you. Obviously, we're not going to touch upon whether they should look outside of their organization for a coach. We know they're traditionally looking for somebody that's bilingual. Will the Montreal Canadiens look for the best coach on the market, or do they have to go within? We'll talk about that on our next call, but this is an important one. Comes from our executive producer. Has Carey Price's contract, which of course is not any of his fault, become the elephant in the room as the main focus instead of running with the hot goalie? So he's kind of, the coach was in a position where he had to be very delicate with what he's doing with Allen, what he's doing with Price. You don't want to get Price on the bad side. And listen, you've got a very bona fide backup, if you want to call it. I still think Allen's no disrespect to Price, he's a phenomenal goaltender, and I would go with him with a hot hand. But he's not. He doesn't have the hot hand right now. So would you not?
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. It's a lot of money for a goalie. And if you look at the Stanley Cup winners the past year, Binnington, Murray, they were not like those big of a goalies. They just had a very good, they had defensemen in front of them that were doing the job. So as long as he makes the key saves and he keeps the team, at least give it a chance to the team to win games. 10 million is a lot of money. And imagine, Gouche, if you trade Price, what you can get for him. So, that might be something that might happen. I don't know. But, I think Jake Allen, you're laughing now, but imagine what they could get for Price. But, Jake Allen is doing a great job. And right now, I think he's better than Price.
You'll be a flying Frenchman out of Montreal if you keep on talking like that. It's
true.
It's going to. I'll tell you what, Bergeron. If he pulls that off, I'm going to give him GM of the year. Because Paul and I have talked about it. Val, we've talked about the Crosby situation. I'm one that thinking the boatload you'd get for Crosby, you wouldn't get as much for Malcolm. But you'd get a boatload for Crosby. If you're going to make a change, is it time to make the change now? When you even suggest the Price story, which it makes sense if you're a hockey guy looking at the picture and looking down the road. It makes sense.
But it's not going to happen.
Well, that's why when you picked up the phone, it was Bergeron. He hung up really quickly.
No, but it's true. I mean, I was just saying, imagine what they could get for him. It's not going to happen. First of all, he's making too much money. $10 million bucks for a goal is
don't go on the fence now, kid. You know you're going to get hate mail. All right, real quick prediction. We always know that there's when a coaching change is made, things look different. So do you think Ducharme will garner that respect? Alex Burrow, we all know him. Do you think that will make a change in the a lot of these players know they can't do anything anyway. What are they going to do? Send these guys down?
Yeah, but they have to be accountable from themselves too. So I think it's going to change. I think you'll see a change when the first game against Winnipeg. You'll see a change right now. So, but it has to last for at least 37 games, and the playoffs. So they have too good of a team right now to look like this on the ice. Okay. I mean, look at the beginning of the season. It's the same thing. At the beginning, they were sharp. It's impossible for a team to go from being that good to that bad. It's impossible.
Okay, well, listen, the Flying Frenchman, you're flying out of here because I just think you'd be crazy if we did that. Listen, here's a comment. I just want to, James is saying, don't know if Price will get much of a return making that kind of money playing the way he is. Again, I think the contract, as Val has said, is going to be a thorn in the side if Price doesn't pick up and start playing the way he can. There's no possible way they're going to play Allen over Price long term. Short term, they can maybe do it, but there's no way it'll be that Patrick Waugh story where he's
no, not the same style of goalies at all. Not the same mentality.
No, he's a great guy. I like Carey Price. All right, buddy. Listen, thank you. We'll get you on next week. Let's see let's see exactly. All right, hang on a sec here. Derek Luck. I think they offered Muller the job, but he didn't have a contract after this year. Muller to Seattle. Ooh, that's a nice fit.
That's not bad. Muller would be good in Seattle, actually.
I think he'll do a great job there.
Yeah.
Thanks, Derek Luck. Hey, Flying Frenchman, you gone.
Yeah. All right. You. Thanks. Love you. Bye.
Hey, buddy. See you next week. Well. I just want to say the Flying Frenchman, he's going to be in sunglasses and a hoodie walking down the streets in Montreal when people realize that he wants to get rid of Carey Price. No, he doesn't. He was just making a point that I think at this day and age, you have to look at everything. And listen, hey, Gretzky got traded, so don't forget that. Yeah, you know that. Listen, we're just waiting for Ray Neufeld. I do not see him in the green room, but our buddies here, you know who it is. You know what time it is? It's Taylor time.
Hi.
It's Taylor time.
I'm sitting here looking at old comments that I had made about Ray Neufeld.
Oh, I thought, oh boy, maybe that's why he's not showing up.
But no, I was the guy. I was the guy who took a great deal of flack because I am the guy who wrote that it was a pretty good trade for the Jets. And for a number of years, Neufeld was a very good player. He had 18 goals 2 years in a row and came in and scored a bunch of goals right away for Winnipeg. So I won't take those words back. I think it was a good trade all in all.
No, and
certainly people, as my old friend Friar Nicholson said, that was the worst trade Fergie ever made. But I guess it's all opinion, isn't it? When you're talking about trades.
Yes, it is, absolutely. And you know what? Really nice guy. Nice guy.
Ray Neufeld's one of the finest human beings you will ever meet in your life.
No question.
It'd be difficult to find a nicer person anywhere than Ray.
All right, so unfortunately, we did get him. It was confirmed that he's coming on, so we're just waiting. You and I can talk a little bit of hockey before he comes off. And really, what I wanted to talk to him about today is
what I'm good at, Carey. That's what I'm good at. I'm good at killing time.
Well, you know your stuff. All right, let's go to. You saw it. Montreal makes a change. Good or bad? Is it the right time? Is it not the right time?
Well, I don't know if you're the guy getting fired, it's never the right time. As for the hockey team, it's going to be interesting to see them play in Winnipeg. They're on the way, and we're going to see a new coaching staff on Thursday night. So, this was a team. We've talked about it a number of times, you and I, about how we thought as the season had started that the two best teams in the league were Toronto and Montreal in the North Division. Not the whole league, but the North Division. And arguably, the team that wins the North Division could win the Stanley Cup. Who knows? But we were, I think, convinced that Montreal and Toronto were the two teams that would fight it out in the end. Now I'm not so convinced. I am more convinced that the three best teams are Toronto, Edmonton, and Winnipeg. And the way those Oilers played last night in that third period to come back from essentially 3-0 down and came back and won 4-3. But Montreal is not playing the same hockey they did 3 weeks ago.
But But Scotty, you've been around the game long enough. You're going to go through those peaks and valleys, and Calgary's going through some issues, and then look like world beaters beating the Toronto Maple Leafs, and they shut down obviously Matthews and Marner. So I think what the issue is that you're going to have these. But if you're specifically talking about the Montreal Canadiens, you probably heard a little bit with the Flying Frenchman, trade Price. I don't think he meant that. I think he was wanting some controversy. That's not happening soon. But the only way you make a change right away at this point is fire the coach. And if you fire the coach, when does it become the general manager's issue? They bring in a new coach, and when is it Bergeron's fault?
Well, I'm one of those guys who's a 3-coach GM. As soon as the GM fires his third coach, he doesn't get another one. The third guy had better make it, or it's painfully obvious that the GM doesn't really know what he's talking about. Now you can say, well, that's not fair. If a GM's been around 20 years, you'd have 3 coaches. Sure. But I'm talking about 3 coaches in 10. Yeah, that's all you're going to get. You get to fire 3 coaches. And once you've decided you're going to fire your next one and go to a 4th head coach, no, you're gone. So, yeah, that's the time. This is probably the last shot, second last shot. At some point in time, the GM has to take responsibility for who he hires.
Yeah. And of course, Val has brought to our attention the cap hit for obviously Carey Price. I don't think we can write Carey Price off. I think people let's relax. And they do have a bona fide, we call him second with Allen, but I think it's difficult too. It's tough on the coach because how do you balance those two? You can't not play Price. They say play the hot hand. What happens right now? I'd be going with Allen, right? But how's that going to relate to Price in his situation? So I think they're in a little bit of trouble. Let's move to, obviously, Winnipeg. Unfortunately, we do not see our buddy Ray Neufeld. I don't know what's happened, but if we don't get him on today, we will try to get him back on the show because I want to talk about his trade, but I also want to talk about he loves the Winnipeg Jets. So for whatever anybody thinks about that trade and how he felt, I think he certainly loves the city. He's from, just down the street. So let's talk about the Winnipeg Jets right as you see it right now. Are you liking what's going on? Obviously, Dubois looks good, and we actually got a victory with him in there, whereas Liney had a couple of goals, and you know where they went.
Yeah, Dubois is a good hockey player. He's going to be an extremely good hockey player. He's going to be better than he's been already. He had 2 goals and an assist the other night, the winning goal in overtime. He's a tremendously big, strong, fast hockey player who's going to be extremely good for this Jets team, and I think for a long period of time. You remember that his dad coaches the Moose, is the assistant coach of the Moose, and has been around here for 4 years already. So he's kind of a Winnipeg guy, and I think a lot of players have to kind of get used to Winnipeg, and some do and some don't. And Patrick Laine was one who didn't. Blake Wheeler, Mark Scheifele, Pierre Luc Dubois are guys that have. I think he's going to be an extremely good player, basically because of the size and speed that he delivers. I think that's a lot. And the fact is he's got a pretty nice touch. The guy can score goals. So it's going to be fun to watch him develop. Patrick Laine is a great hockey player. Let's not get this whole Patrick Laine thing out of perspective. He is a tremendous hockey player who has one thing going for him. He has the big shot. And we saw that the other night in their 6-5 loss to Chicago. He blasted a couple of big ones. And when he can let that shot go on the power play, he is as dangerous a player as there is in the National Hockey League. Now, the question is, will he get along with Torts every night? Will he be able to produce every night? Will Torts put up with the fact that he does lollygag from time to time, especially in the neutral zone coming back? I think there's a big question mark whether that's going to last a long time or a short time. And we'll see what happens. But I can tell you this about Pierre Luc Dubois. He is a Winnipeg Jet and is going to play a lot. You probably get 22 minutes tomorrow night playing on 2 lines. He'll play a lot for this team.
I like him. Hey, listen, Robert Wine's just sending you a compliment. Scott, come on. With what you share, you don't kill time, you fill time.
Oh, Robert's my hero.
Yeah,
more
listen,
guys like Robert.
The Jets sit third overall in the North Division. I was going to say the North Division. 23 points, 3 off second behind Edmonton. I liked Edmonton last night. I thought, a good move. Smitty had a little bit of a tough start. That shot from the corner, and the coaching staff, believed in him and said, listen, he's going to, and he played really well the second and third period. And of course, then, you give McDavid time and space, and where you're going to end up. You're going to be pulling the puck.
How about Dominique Cahoon last night? He was really good.
Unbelievable. And you know what? I skated with Dominique Cahoon 3 years ago. I was at the ice hockey Regensburg. They had a big international with my good buddy Peter Flush, and Malcolm Sutherland and I were there showing our Save for Sports in Regensburg, Germany, and he was one of the guest coaches. What a nice kid. Polite. He treated me like I was a rock star, and I had to let him know it's not Michel Goulet, and it's not Robert Goulet. It's Kerry Goulet. But he treated me with respect. And when he went to Chicago, he texted me and said, hey, thank you for the summer and I gave him some advice. You know what I told him?
What'd you tell him?
Just go and have fun. And he is.
Well, he was very good last night. And he was very good against the Jets in the 2 games that Winnipeg split with Edmonton last week. I thought he played very, very well, especially in game 2 that the Oilers won 3-2. I really think when this thing boils down to it in the end, it's going to be Toronto, Edmonton, and Winnipeg battling it out. They're to me, the 3 best teams in that division, unless the Canadians can find a way to turn it around.
Yeah, I'm not writing the Canadians off yet. I think they
you
can
can't
write
off
that
a team with Carey Price as your goaltender. And this goes back to the entire concept about starters and backups. Laurent Brossoit played a magnificent hockey game against Vancouver last week. Laurent Brossoit may be the best backup goaltender in the NHL. But he and the coaching staff are aware of the fact that he is the backup goaltender. Yeah. So he's going to play about 1 every 5 to 8 games. Jesus. And he's got to be prepared to do that. And he has been prepared for every game he's played this year. He has been tremendous. But
Scott,
he's not Connor Hellebuck, the $7 million goaltender.
I got to ask you this question. I got a very good friend. Well, I got a couple, but one very good friend. He's not a big fan of Maurice. There's a lot of chatter online. I didn't know that until he actually sent me the story. The talk about him using the old guys versus the young guys because he can't coach young guys. He's not comfortable with bringing in the youth. Can you dispel that talk? Or is there any sense of the fact that Morris just takes the easy way out?
I don't agree with any of that. Not a bit of it. I don't agree with anything that you said.
It's not me.
Paul Maurice is a tremendous hockey coach. Is he the greatest hockey coach who ever lived? No. Do you know why? He never had Scotty Bowman's opportunities. Scotty Bowman got jobs in the National Hockey League that he chose. And he told me this in the press box in Tampa. He said, I was able to coach the teams I wanted to coach. So when I went for coaching jobs, I never accepted coaching jobs on bad hockey teams. I accepted coaching jobs on good hockey teams. Paul Maurice, on the other hand, has coached a lot of lousy hockey teams. He had a lousy team in Hartford. He had a lousy team when he started in Carolina. He had a lousy team when he started ended in Toronto. He had a lousy team when he started in Winnipeg, and he's made it a pretty good team. Paul Maurice, a pretty good hockey coach. Is he the greatest? No, he's not. The question that people in Winnipeg have to ask and answer is if you fire Paul Maurice, who's better? He likes players that make him comfortable. Every coach on the planet likes players who make him comfortable. I personally, as a human being, think there are 300 defensemen in the National Hockey League better than Nathan Beaulieu. As a matter of fact, I think there are 300 defensemen in the American Hockey League who are better than Nathan Beaulieu. But Nathan Beaulieu is going to play 22 minutes on Thursday night because Paul Maurice is comfortable with them on the point. And the guy who's going to have to be the big loser in the end, if Nathan Beaulieu puts 3 pucks in his own net, is Paul Maurice. Coaches have to make decisions. The decision he's made is he likes Nathan Beaulieu, and that's the way it's going to be. Tomorrow night, we may have a chance to see Sami Niku play. It looks like we might get a chance to see him, so he's going with the young guy tomorrow night. But there's nothing old about Dubois. There's nothing old about Neil Pionk, who might be one of the 3 or 4 best defensemen in the league. And there's nothing old about Josh Morrissey, and there's nothing old about Nick Ehlers. These aren't old guys. Does he like rookies? Probably not as much as some coaches do. But the other thing about Paul Maurice and his relationship with Kevin Cheveldayoff is that he has an opportunity to make decisions that some coaches don't have the opportunity to make. Some general managers are telling coaches who's going to play and who's not going to play. That happens on occasion. In Winnipeg, Paul Maurice is making a decision on personnel, and his decision on personnel right now is Ville Heinola isn't going to play very much, and Sami Niku isn't going to play very much, but Tucker Poolman sure got a shot with Paul Maurice that nobody thought he would get, and has been tremendous when he's been healthy. So I think that's a real lousy argument from somebody who wants to see a young player play that he likes.
All right. So,
it's like the argument with another great argument with Patrick Laine. You know who the people that were really, 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 really angry about the Laine trade? Were the people who had Patrick Laine jerseys. They'd thrown away $180.
Well, no. You know what they could do? Hang on. Okay. I know the way you've just presented yourself with the more. You're going to get a Christmas card from him. There's no question. And secondly, what number is Laine? 29.
Yeah.
All you got to do. I will personally get nameplates made up with Gouche on the back, and I will send it to everybody that has a Winnipeg Jets jersey, a Gouche name bar. Even though I didn't play there, but I would have loved to.
Oh, yeah, but you went to camp. You went to camp.
Well, it wasn't camp. It was a pre-rookie camp.
Yeah, but if it was today, so you didn't have that rookie tournament that they have now.
No.
If they had that rookie tournament back then, you would have played.
I would have been beaten up just like I would have been beaten up just like I was beaten up back then. Hey, listen, before we get Ray up here, I wanted to say just a couple more real quick things. There was a great comment here when you were talking, James. We have the best. I've got the best tandem. I've got the best executive producer and now the best assistant producer. So I got 2. So I'm getting good at this thing. But here's a point from him. Edmonton doesn't have the defense to make a deep run. Betting on Toronto, Winnipeg, and Montreal. That's a good point. I don't know if they – and now there's talk, and we won't get into it. This will be for our Saturday show. There's talk about Ethan Bear being on the market, which I find kind of strange. But, hey, could be. All right, final thing is right here. Does it count if Laine just looks and behaves like an old guy?
There's a great question. That's a great question.
All right. We're not answering that. Bobby B, thank you for that, because you know what? We've got arguably one of the nicest guys on the planet. We're not going to talk about what he did to me back in Flin Flon, Manitoba. We already went through that. But he's a really, really nice dude, and I'm glad I got him. His name is Ray Neufeld. Ray, what's going on?
There he is.
There I am. Hey, how's everyone doing? I'm doing great.
We're doing fantastic.
Doing great.
Hey,
busy day, but good.
Hey, that 4:15 bus is at 4:15, right? It's I don't know what time you're on, but thank you for making it, Ray. It's fantastic. I had to bring in Scotty Taylor. You had to fill in your spot, so I tried to sell people he was Ray Neufeld, and I got a lot. No, it didn't go over well. So, how you doing today?
There you go. Well, we sort of look alike.
Yeah, one day. That was a long time ago.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Ray.
It was.
As you probably heard, we were talking about the Winnipeg Jets, one of your favorite teams. But before we get there, I do want to just clear up a little issue that I got, because I didn't know about I knew that you were traded, but I never knew there was kind of an issue. And we always think about this for a minute. People start yelling and screaming at the player, and it's never. And you wrote something. I read it. It's never it's not our fault. You made a trade, and so John Ferguson should. And we love John Ferguson. He was one of the nicest, toughest guys I ever met. I got a chance to meet him here. So rest in peace. I love John Ferguson Sr. I can say not a bad word. But tell us from your eyes right now, it wasn't the worst trade the Jets have made. That's silly.
Well, geez, that's a tough opening question for me. I'll tell you that right now. But
and only you can handle it.
I don't know all the trades the Winnipeg Jets have made, so I can't speak to all of them. So I can speak to the one I was involved with for sure, and that was a difficult trade for a lot of reasons. And I guess coming to my hometown, that was exciting. Lots of things that have transpired in my life after the trade and during really impacted my life in a positive way away from the arena. So there was lots going on in my life when I came to Winnipeg. A ton of things going on personally that I was struggling with. And on top of that, had to deal with being traded for the most popular guy in the Winnipeg Jet locker room outside of Dale Hawerchuk, probably. So it was challenging to say the least. First year was pretty bumpy, without a doubt. But we got through it. Things got better as second and third year, and the team had better success too. The year of the trade, our team was lousy. I mean, we, for whatever reason, we had lots of trouble for a number of different reasons, and it wasn't all contributed to me. I'll honestly say that. But it was a number of things that set that team back, and they never really found their game. But the following year, I thought we did pretty good. Unfortunately, we always ran into the mighty Edmonton Oilers, who we couldn't beat. So, and I was always judged, I think, based upon the trade, not necessarily what I brought to the hockey team and the type of player I was. It was always, how are you today, Ray? Well, great. Well, how's the trade, right? It was always focused on trade. So that was a bit of a struggle for me. Still to this day, it is. I mean, 30 some years later, Laine just gets traded in Winnipeg, and here we go again. We go through the whole cycle of all the Jets trades, good, bad, or indifferent, and my name gets dragged up in that again. So, you know what I'm thankful for? Lots of great people I've met in Winnipeg, playing in my home province. I've learned a lot. Overall, it was a very positive move for me to come to Winnipeg. So I just wish maybe Fergie would have addressed it a little bit more than he did. And other than that, I have no complaints. The Jets have been great to me as an organization. The whole time I was there, my teammates were fantastic as well. So I really have no complaints. It's just trying time. That's all for that first season.
People tend to forget that when you came to Winnipeg, it was it had a great year in 84-85, and as you mentioned, it wasn't playing very well in 85-86. But you never missed the playoffs. In your 3 full seasons in Winnipeg, you never missed the playoffs. That says a lot.
Exactly. Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, that's very true. And we were, the one year we lost to Calgary, the next year we beat Calgary, and then the next year we lost to Edmonton. So, and each time we beat Calgary, or the time we did beat Calgary, we lost to Edmonton anyway. So it really, no one got by the Oilers in the Smythe division. We weren't an exception to that for sure. So, you're right. We did make the playoffs all three of those seasons, and overall, we had a pretty good hockey team. You have to admit, the year previous me getting there, they were real good, and again, they had the same issue. They got knocked out in the playoffs, probably to the Oilers, I'm assuming. But the biggest factor of that trade in my mind is if you were in the National League today and you were a general manager and you were going to swap a 25, 30 goal scorer for a top defenseman, would you make that trade? You might do it on a rental today, but you wouldn't do it on a long-term trade necessarily. So I'm not deplaying myself, but I just personally probably wouldn't have made that trade. And if you did make it, you'd want to have something coming back. Like, so how are you going to plug that hole that Babych left? It was a huge hole in the Jet blue line. And if we were just all honest about that, that's something the Jets never really plugged after Babych left. They got a big winger that go up and down, bang and crash. That was my game. But they never filled in that back part of their defense that was, noticeable for sure.
You never had fewer than 18 goals. You put points up when you were there.
Yeah,
I go back to that trade, and in the book I wrote, the headline on the section is "The Worst Trade of All Time," And it was a quote from our old friend Friar Nicholson. And Friar was always angry at Babych being traded. But the reality of it is that the guy that Winnipeg got was exactly as advertised.
Right.
You never, under any circumstances, played less than you were. Like, everybody knew what they were getting, and you played up to your abilities as an NHL player. You were a 20-goal scorer, 45 points, bang and crash, 40, 50 penalty minutes a year, beating guys up. Yeah. I mean, you did exactly what you were. There was never any, Ray Neufeld isn't playing up to Ray Neufeld's capabilities. No, Ray Neufeld played his game every night in a Winnipeg Jets uniform. And people just couldn't get over that Fergie had traded a fan favorite for anybody. The only guy that would have made them happy is Gretzky, I think.
Well, maybe that's a good point. I mean, you make a good point, and I appreciate you saying that, Scott. I mean, from a standpoint of, that I delivered what type of player I was. I mean, that's the type of player I was. I wasn't your toughest player. I mean, we had Jimmy Kite for that. I didn't have to be that. Didn't have to play that role, but I would go up and down, bang and crash, and chip in with some goals. And I was probably my hardest critic. I mean, people don't realize during that time how tough I was on myself through that whole process, and not to mention my first year there, trying to get off the booze, which was a big factor in my overall lifestyle. And so I made those adjustments while I was dealing with all the other stuff. So it was pretty interesting time for me. But you're right. I played that type of a game. I think when we played Calgary, it certainly helped us knock off the Flames. I mean, they were a big team that played aggressive. And so from that standpoint, for sure, I mean, it was helpful for the organization to have a guy like me there. Dan Maloney came in that year. So first year I was there, Barry Long was coaching. There was lots of stuff going on. We were struggling as a group, and Barry Long was getting really frustrated. I could feel his pain every night. And then they brought in Dan Maloney, much more defensive, structured type of a coach. And so they got a little away from that run and gun jet hockey, that they've been used to playing, where they had 6 or 7, 30-goal scorers, right? So, and that affected my game as well. I mean, in Hartford, I played and scored 25, 26, 27 goals a year. I was playing with the 1 or 2 top centermen. And in Winnipeg, I played with Bosch, good guy, great guy, very good hockey player. But, Hartford, I was playing with Ronnie Francis, a little bit different, right? So the circumstances changed from team to team, obviously, and who you play with. And that was my role in Winnipeg. I accepted it and tried to execute it for sure.
Okay, the journalist that I am, I Googled the worst Winnipeg Jet trade. Ray Neufeld is not on this list. So let's wipe that out. Whoever even came up with that cockamamie bullcrap, it's not here, all right? Here it is. Anaheim Ducks acquire Timo Solani and Mark Chenard for Chad Kilger and Olis Tododowski. And the next one is Detroit Red Wings acquire Chris Draper for future considerations, what ended up being $1. So that's it.
They didn't have the Tommy Martin trade.
No, they didn't get
that's a good one too, isn't it?
Let's just say those are the
Tommy
two
Martin
worst. All right,
for a bus.
I felt that when I went to.
We used to laugh a bit about that.
That was the greatest trade.
Sorry, Tommy, if you're listening.
Oh no, he loved it. He played it right up. Yeah. I was traded for a bus.
Hey, were you Ray? You played parts of 4 seasons for the Jets between 1985 and 89, and recorded 61 goals, 66 assists, 127 points in 247 games. Those are very, very, very good stats. Were you there when the Jets left? Were they done?
Yeah, they were gone. I think 96 they left, if I'm not mistaken, and I got traded to Boston in 88. The December of 88, I went to Boston. So, yeah.
I'm not sure.
So I wasn't there. I missed all the Jets moving, but I was there when the Jets came back, which was exciting. Boy, big time.
How cool is that?
That whole thing, it was awesome. Yeah. You bet.
Okay. All right. So Bobby B has a great question here. Scott, just before you go, what are your thoughts around Bill Riley and what he meant to the Winnipeg Jets and the Black players overall? I got to see him talk with you, with Kevin Shea. What an incredible interview that was, and a wonderful man.
Yeah, Bill is a great guy without a doubt, and certainly one of the front runners or first guys to ever play. A Black player to ever play. I mean, you had Willie O'Ree was fantastic, and Mike Marson, and then of course there was Bill, and tough customer. He could dish it out. No one wanted to mess with him, that's for sure. But what he stands for, what he represents, what he's wanting the NHL to look at it overall with diversity and inclusion, I think is really great. And we sat on that call together, and he shed some light on his career, which was awesome, absolutely awesome. And just to hear the stories of Bill and what he's had to endure in his life as a Black hockey player, and I so respect him for what he's had to go through. So great guy. Want to get to know him better. We're talking with a lot of Black guys are people of color are really in communication these days, and it's great to refresh those old memories and hear his story. I caught his article today on I think it was CBC, or somebody did one on him, and great story and some great stuff. So kudos to Bill. He's one of the best, and one of the first that ever donned the skates as a Black player. So congratulations to Bill Riley for sure.
Tell you how old I am. I go back about the 10th game I ever broadcast on radio. 1968 provincial midget championship in Ontario, and the best player on the ice was Tony McKegney.
Remember
Tony McKegney?
Yeah. You bet I do.
Outstanding player.
Yeah. Yes,
and he was a midget then. Just a tremendous hockey player.
Yeah, he tells some great stories, Tony. We've been communicating quite a bit. Him and I went over to Europe for about 10 days, 2 weeks to play in this tournament. And Bobby All was there and a bunch of guys. It was a fun trip. And we got to know Tony then, and then we slipped away from each other the last number of years, but reconnected here in the last while. So a great guy, great stories. And he talks about how, how he used to be able to keep the puck from everybody. As a young player growing up, I mean, guys couldn't get the puck off him. He was just too good with the puck. And certainly his NHL career, I mean, speaks for itself. How many goals he got, number of games he played, just a real true champion of the game, and really a great hockey player. He really was. And I'm glad he's getting some accolades now, recognition for his achievements in hockey, because they're certainly, he should be. He's well deserving of it. So I'm glad to get to know him. I met his son the other day as well, and that was a pleasure. And just a real great family, great guy, and glad to see him doing well.
One thing that people have forgotten about your career, or maybe they never knew, is you weren't a bad coach either, especially a junior coach in Manitoba. Okay. Tell me about those experiences.
Well, my initially I got started with coaching. I mean, it's funny. I wasn't sure I wanted to do that. In fact, and a friend came and said, "Hey, you want to come coach in the Manitoba Junior League?" And I went, "Well, I don't know, what is that all about?" So I really had zero experience. But I loved working in my first year, a few years was with Saguin up there and playing with the Southeast Blades and coaching them. And I actually enjoyed the whole time I was there. I mean, we had some bumpy times, tough recruiting players in there, but really good experience. Great to meet and work with those people in that community. So fond memories up there for sure. Also, then I went on to coach with Don McGilvery and Winnipeg South Blues for 3 years. I believe I worked with Don, and that was great. I learned a lot as a coach, and he's a terrific guy to work with. He really knows the game. I couldn't be happier that he got hired with Brandon, and now working head coach with the Brandon Wheat Kings. So it's been a good experience. I like the coaching side of it, mostly because I love working with young men really. and trying to mentor them, trying to shed some light on what it's like to be a pro player and how to handle yourself away from the rink. So all those things were really fun for me. I really enjoyed that part of coaching.
You haven't called Don and Brandon yet? Tell them you're available?
Well, I talked to Don the other day, actually, and he was getting ready to go in the bubble and or whatever they're doing there, the hub, I guess they're calling it. So, I chatted with him briefly. I was going to call him once he got there. He said, I'll have more time to talk when I'm in the hub. So I said, good, I'll talk to him.
He'll be dying to talk to you
in a week or so.
He's locked into that hub.
Yeah, that's right. And surprisingly, that's right. Yeah.
I want to bring you back to the Jets for a minute. We won't talk about the trade. But what do you think about Dubois right at this moment? He's fitting in nicely.
Pardon me?
We won't talk about the trade, but what do you think about Dubois?
Dubois. Oh, we won't talk. I think, well, you know what? Here's a guy that, I mean, I don't know him that well. I didn't watch him much in Columbus. I mean, but I know he's a big, strong player. I know the Jets would have did their homework on him before they made that trade and what he can bring to a hockey team. That much I know for sure. Had a rough start coming in with all the quarantine stuff and everything he had to go through. But I think he found a bit of his stride in Vancouver the other night, was it? They were playing Vancouver, and he played really terrific. And I think he's the type of guy in a playoff series you're really gonna love him. I mean, he goes in the hard areas. He's not afraid to go in the hard areas. He's got skill. He's got size. He can skate. I mean, there's lots of things that he brings to a team. And if they have to move him to the wing for now, that's cool. I'm okay with that. But certainly when you look at their team up the middle, if they shift him back up the middle, I mean, it's a pretty solid group of centermen they have there that could be well represented in any playoff series. So I like the Jets team. I really do. There's lots of pieces about it I like. They're just shy on a couple areas, but they're looking real good.
Hey, Scott, I just wanted to add to that, Ray, to you, Scott. Shifley spoke really highly about Dubois. He said exactly what you said. Big boy, doesn't mind going into the hard places for us. He's really excited about having him on his team. And that's no disrespect to Liney and what he's going to have to do in Columbus. But I think for me personally and for Shifley, I think that's a great move. He's already got 4 points in 8 games. As you know, Ray, coming over to a new team, trying to fit in the pandemic, obviously quarantine, and then he got a little bit of an injury. I think I'm really comfortable with that. Scott?
Well, it's funny. I'm looking at Ray and I'm thinking, here's a guy kind of semi in the same position that you were in, a big banging winger.
Good point.
Who's
we weren't going to talk about the trade.
No, but wait a minute. But it's like it's 33 years later, 35 years later, but it's how hockey never changes.
That's a good point.
In a lot of aspects.
Yes.
I mean, they brought in a guy that's a centerman by nature, and they're trying to make him a winger. And I'm thinking the person you call is Ray Neufeld, because they want him to be exactly what you were. A 30 to 40 goal scorer in today's numbers, a guy who'll bang, a guy who'll go to the dirty parts of the rink, a guy who'll get in front of the net and make a mess of the goaltender, do all that stuff and knock defensemen down and take the cross check that you get in front of the net and then go and bang in the corners. That's what Ray Neufeld did for the Winnipeg Jets, and that's what they want from Pierre Luc Dubois. The only difference, I think, though, is that as I checked Pierre Luc Dubois' contract, it's a little more than you made.
You think? Not much. Holy smokes, man! I mean, these guys all get paid. These guys all get paid a fair bit of dough, but hey, hockey's changed. It's a big business today, you know. So I was thankful for what the Jets paid me when I was there, but it's a lot different. But you know, just commenting on Laine, you know, I really like Patrick Laine. I was a big fan of his. I mean, young kid came into the league. I mean, had to find his way, and you know, we all know what he does. He scores. I mean, he's a scorer. I mean, he can really score because he can shoot and he finds a net, right? But I don't think the Jets will miss his goals as much as people think. only because they could score by committee now. They got lots of weapons up front, with Dubois, with Scheifele, with Wheeler, with Lowry, and they just got so many guys, Connor, and you name it. I mean, they got 4 real balanced lines right now that can do damage. So, I don't know if they miss Laine so much. Plus, they get that presence that Dubois brings, a complete player, like somebody that can do it all at all ends of the rink. So, no disrespect to Laine. I was sort of sad to see him go because I like him. I think he would help Winnipeg win too, but I think this player, I mean, it was either you're going to trade Laine for a D-man or you're going to trade him for a big centerman or a big forward, and they chose the big forward. So, I mean, they win at both ends that way. They can't really lose. I think they're going to have to find another guy on their back end eventually, but I'm sure they're aware of that. Yeah.
Well, here we are after 35 years, and the one thing I really wanted to know from you is that I'm a great friend of Anders Strom. I like Anders, who runs the Jets Alumni Club. Has the alumni situation with the Jets improved over the last 10 years? Because I'm seeing more and more of you guys out and around and out and about than I did 20 years ago.
Right. Well, I would have to say yes to that, and yes to Anders being really just such a great guy. He's a really classy guy, handles himself like a tremendous professional. I mean, I had nothing but respect and admiration for him. He's a wonderful person, and he's really done a great job with our alumni as a liaison. He works with us, and and through True North and everything that they have going on and how they want the alumni to be structured and so on. So, I think we're a work in progress in Winnipeg with the alumni, but I think they launched everything in the Heritage Classic, and that was a huge event for everyone to come back and get acquainted and sort of find our way and what we want to do going forward. So, it's I take my hat off, tip my hat to True North. They're a wonderful organization. I mean, Mark Chipman, great guy, willing to help and support community, and also us old guys that just like to be around a little bit and give back to community in some way. And he's always open to allowing us to do that. So we're really grateful for that.
Hey, Scott, final comment to Ray, because I've got my final question all lined up for him, and it's got nothing to do with trades. Oh.
Who's the best player you ever played with? Who's your favorite player to play with?
Oh, favorite player to play with. Golly, I mean, I have to say, because I played with some great players. I mean, I played with Gordie Howe. How do you not say he was the best player, right? I mean, he was 52 when I played with him. So he wasn't the best player, but he was still the best player, if you know what I'm saying. So, and I also I played with Ronnie Francis in Hartford. I think maybe he was probably the best player I played with. Although in Boston, I played with Ray Bourque, pretty terrific guy too. Dale Howardchuk, gosh, how can you not put him in that category as guys I played with that are great? I mean, he was a fantastic player. I played with him for 3.5 years. I knew he was really good. But when later on in life and playing old timers and stuff, and you get to realize really how special he was as a player. I mean, gosh, he's a good player, and really a terrific guy too. So, I don't know. I can't put my finger on one guy per se or one player. I've been blessed to play with a number of great players, and Bosch, Thomas Steen. I mean, it goes on and on. So. Lucky guy. Best goalie I think I played with, though, was Mike Liut. And I'll never forget the difference he made for the Whale when he came to the Whale and walked into our dressing room. What a change. Terrific guy, really good goalie as well.
Hey, we want to do a nice tribute to Dale Howardchuk.
Yeah, you bet. Good seeing you, Scott.
Bell's brought up a nice picture here. Dale, rest in peace. We miss him, and he was just a great addition to the Winnipeg Jets. Hey, listen, my last question is going to be a little bit easier than obviously Scott, him being the consummate journalist. He comes up with these questions to, pick the best player you ever. Of course, you got to go with 15 different guys because they won't talk to you later, for God's sakes. Mine's going to be easy. Who's the best guy you one-punched and knocked out in Flint? Okay, that was an easy question.
Yeah,
And
there you go.
it's even more incredible, Scott, you didn't even know he did it.
Yeah, that's right.
I tried to get in as
these
much
things
as I
happen.
can. Scott Chartier said, I tried to get in as much as I can. Met Ray when I was 12, fishing, great guy, just to take the time to say hi to a young kid. We know that was you, Ray. You always took time out to be with people and make time and energy for charities and all the great work that you've done, not only in Winnipeg, but all throughout the NHL. Of course, with Black History Month, what you're doing to help educate everybody on it, we can't thank you enough. And I'm going to leave the last question actually to Bobby B. He's one of our favorite. That's not a question. There. Okay. My producer. Do you think the Jets, this is the final question, no more, Scott, no more tough questions. This one, do you think the Jets have the veteran leadership they need to go deep in the playoffs? Because the man that's underneath us has said that it's going to be Toronto, Edmonton, and Winnipeg. He's left Montreal out. And do you think the Jets can go deep?
Well, I do. I mean, what's that? When you look at their team, I mean, yeah, I would like them to make maybe a couple little changes, but nothing too major. But if they stay with the same group now, I think, they're so well coached. Their back end, their goaltending is like, really terrific. They got 4 balanced lines. I mean, they got some guys that can fill if they get injuries. They have a lot of ingredients to go deep in the playoffs. I mean, they're up against it. I mean, I think, how do the Oilers with McDavid, it's tough to, in Draisaitl. I mean, the 1-2 punch is pretty hard, but I think I think they're a deeper team than Edmonton. I won't say much deeper, but they're deeper for sure. And so Toronto is an interesting team right now. They got lots of weapons. They're playing at a pretty high level. So, it's a long way to go yet. Lots of things can change in a season, but I like what I see in the Jets. I like their leadership in Wheeler and Scheifele, and they have one of the best players in hockey in Kyle Connor, and they got lots of really good players. Morrissey, of course. And who knows? Some of these younger guys are getting to play more right now, and you just don't know how that's going to play out when you get to the playoffs. So I like their chances. I like the direction they're going for sure, and so I'm cheering them all the way. I want to see the Jets win. It would be awesome if they could win in their 10th year, and and win it in some respects. Dale's number 10. I mean, maybe it's all supposed to fit together this year. So it would be nice to see that.
You heard it first right here. The Mark Messier guarantee: the Winnipeg Jets will win the Stanley Cup. Ray Neufeld.
Yeah. They will. I'd like to see them win. I didn't say they will.
Ray, thank you for being such a great guy. We love having you. Look forward to meeting you in person one day, and I'll wear a bigger helmet. Thanks, buddy.
You bet.
Thanks, Ray.
You bet. Thanks very much. Great seeing you, Scott. Yeah.
Good seeing you, Ray. We'll see you at the game.
Yeah, what a nice
I'm
guy.
out of here. Bye.
I know you are. Bye. See you later.
See you Saturday.
Wrap
Bye.
up. Bye. Get out of here. Hey, listen, here's a great question. The question is, could we please go back to the original Jets logo? One of the best, I agree. Hey, listen, really quickly, we went a little over time. Can't thank my executive producer, Val, doing a great job. We've got some great things coming up next week. We're not going to tell you yet, but Friday he's coming up, and we're going to be making some announcements with our executive producer and assistant producer and our video production guy. We're growing. Gouche Live is growing. But what's important is tomorrow at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, we have a friend of mine in Germany. It's Black History Month. His name is Martin Williams. We're going to talk about, obviously, that, about the Black History Month and how is the effects over in Europe where he played. He played in Germany, and we'll find out lots about that. Him growing up, was it a problem because of the color of his skin? And then right after me at 4:30, you know what? the Rosen Report. Yes, sir. Paul Rosen's got a great guest. One of my favorite guests I've heard him talk with before is Greg Westlake. So we look forward to that. And do not forget, we're sending all of our thoughts and prayers out to Tiger Woods. We wish him a speedy recovery. We hope that he not only gets back to himself. Obviously, it's a pretty serious injury when you put rods in a leg. And I can only tell you from me, breaking my ankle very seriously, it's a tough one. I'll tell you what, real tough. We hope he's back. But on Friday, 4 p.m., you do not want to miss it. No, do not miss it. The Tiger's here. Tiger Williams. He's already told me that the internet's working. It's only -20 where he's at, and the threshold is -25. So hopefully a cold wind doesn't blow in. Hey, thank you so much, guys. I really enjoyed today's show. Ray Neufeld, a hit. And, of course, Scotty talking with Taylor. We'll see him again on Saturday. Hey, you've been watching Gouche Live right here with the Hockey News, Sports Illustrated, and our good people at Paramount Sports Magic. Good night.
You've been listening to Gouche Live with your host, Kerry Goulet, better known as The Gouche, brought to you by the Hockey News and Sports Illustrated.